Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description. Oh, all right, Jesse, you got a hand for us here?
I do have a hand for us. So
All right.
we're at the MGM again.
Okay, so MGM in Washington. This is
Yep.
2-5, right? 2-5-1K?
251K. We're
Yep.
just slightly over the cap.
Okay.
Effective stacks are 1060.
Okay.
Or 1055 actually. I open black 8 from under the gun to 20.
Okay.
It folds all the way around to the small blind where a Euro idiot calls.
Okay. Yep.
I've just seen him do some weird things. Anyway.
So you mean he's just like he's not super solid. You just see him do some spazzy
Yeah,
shit.
I mean he's definitely one of these guys who's playing for profit, but he's definitely made some questionable bluffs and done some other sort of strange things.
Yeah, and actually the video from today I talked about the Euros and with William Hung that went up today on YouTube. I haven't put it out on social media yet, but there are definitely foreigners that come to play for profit here in the U.S., but they're at a lot of different levels, though. Some guys are real crushers, and some guys are worse than others. So it's not like they're all great, unbelievable players. So he calls from the small blind.
They certainly are not. Yes.
Yeah.
The big blind folds, so we are heads up.
Okay. Yep.
The flop comes out ace, 5-4, monotone with spades.
Ace of spades, 5 of spades, 4 of spades, and you've got 8 of clubs, 8 of spades, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So he checks, and I think this is a pretty obvious check back. There's no real reason to bet here, I don't think.
Well, what's interesting is that a lot of the work that I've been doing with Conlon over on Top Section and stuff, there are these situations. I'm not exactly sure if this one's 100% applicable, but there are these situations where, and I had a hand like this that I think we talked about on the podcast. Or actually, no, I haven't talked about it yet. But when you have a pair and a flush draw, sometimes if you're in between, like even on the turn, like the hand that I was going to talk about was like I had ace queen of spades and the board came out queen 5-4 with 2 spades, and I was a preflop raiser and it went bet call call, and then the turn was a king. And it was like, well, what's the purpose of me betting here with ace queen of spades with a nut flush draw, right? Like, I'm going to get everything to fold, but sort of the new way to look at betting, like the most current stuff, is that you can sometimes bet in between. It's not all way ahead, way behind. And the hands that you're sort of betting in between, where it's not defined whether you're betting for value or as a bluff or for protection, are usually the ones that you have the most equity with. So pair and a flush draw, like ace queen of spades, could have been a bet there for me on the turn. Eights with the 8 of spades can certainly be a bet. You've got second pair to the board and a spade. What I'm saying is that it's probably more of a bet with a spade versus not having a spade, although sometimes people will look at it the opposite way and they'll be like, well, I'll check this back with a spade so I don't get quote unquote blown off my hand. But you're not really going to be calling a large check raise probably that much anyways. It depends.
With an 8 high flush draw, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. So I think that this hand can be bet. Obviously, I'm not going to fault you for checking, but that is sort of the new way that a lot of people look at betting now, that it's not as defined as it used to be. So it goes check, check.
It goes check, check.
Yep.
So the turn is an offsuit 8.
An offsuit 8, 8x. So you've got a set now.
So now I have sort of middle set.
Right. Okay.
And he leads for basically pot.
So he bets what, like 40?
35 and
Small.
40.
Okay. Yep.
So I mean, I think that this is a pretty clear-cut call. Raising with middle set on a monotone board seems kind of weird.
I would say this is probably a call here more often than not. I mean, you can't really get 3-bet back all that much unless a guy's got like the nut flush or a really high flush, and he might not even 3-bet that back. He actually might go for a check rate for a check raise on the river. So I could see a call, but your hand is very strong. And again, because you've got all that equity and stuff, I can also see a raise. I don't think it's actually all that clear cut. I have raised in this spot before. When sometimes what happens is if you're the pre-flop raiser, you'll check through a board and then you'll turn a set, right? And then somebody leads out like on a straightening board, and you're like, well, I raised with pocket eights and the board came out, 9-4-5, something like that. And it got checked through, and now the turn's an 8, and a guy leads out of the blind, right? And maybe somebody calls in between, and it's like, well, yeah, 6-7's there, but there's still a lot of hands that are gonna call your raise. So again, I could probably see it go either way, but it sounds to me like you called.
I did call because I think that against a person who has a spaz button, I'm not entirely sure what sort of situation I would be in if I did get 3-bet on the turn.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean,
anyway,
if you weren't 3-bet all in, you could certainly call. But okay, you make the call.
Yes, I do.
Yep.
So I make the call, and then the river pairs the 8.
Wow. Okay, so you have now quads.
The ace, not the ace.
Oh, the ace. Oh, excuse me, ace. Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
You have full house.
So I have like a middle full house. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So he leads. He bets again. 75. No, 80. 80 into what would that be? Like 110.
Yeah.
So I think for a second, and I think clearly now our hand is definitely good enough to
absolutely
raise.
You have to raise, yeah, absolutely.
So I do. I make it 200. I make it 230.
This is interesting about the sizing here because obviously, there's a number of different hands that he could be betting for value that are worse than yours, right? Like flop flushes, an ace, something like that. I might go a little bit larger here. I might make it 300 or something like that. I know that your hand probably never has a bluff when it goes check back, raise, but at this level, a lot of people are just looking at their own hand strength and like he's got ace 10 and he might just call because he thinks, there's no spade and, he blocks you having like 4 aces. Not that he might not necessarily be thinking about that on that level, but you're repping such a thin range by doing that. I actually might make it larger to try to get called by a flop flush or an ace. I don't think those hands are folding.
I think that's a reasonable point, and I think in retrospect, 300 might have gone better.
Yeah.
But in any event, that becomes sort of a moot point because he now bet 3-bets all in.
Wow. So all in for like how much more?
The 1,000 straight.
So let me just do a little math here. So 190, 420. So it's like 16. Are you getting like 2 to 1? What are the exact pot odds? Do you remember?
Like 1.6, 1.7 to 1 because the pot is my 230 plus it's like 350 plus 1,000. So it's like 1350 is the pot.
800 to call, something like that.
Yeah, 1350, like 800 to call, 750 to call.
Right. So that means that you're going to have to be good somewhere around 35% of the time. Normally this type of line is very, very nutted here. Like, if I was playing 5-5 at the bike and the guy wasn't in total spaz, right, and I had no history, I got to tell you I might make it tough fold here because I just don't. First of all, I'm not going to see anybody bet 3-bet all in really with like the nut flush here when you raise. Also, I don't know when you raise the river if someone's even going to raise back with like pocket 5s and pocket 4s. I'm just trying to think of the value hands that are overplayed here. So, ace 5 and ace 4. So it's $2 in the small blind. So that he probably should not have ace 4 or ace 5 offsuit. So, there's 3 combos of each one of those because there's only 2 combos of each one of those because the spades are out there. So that's 4 hands. Just the bet 3-bet all in on the river is super, super, super strong. But I remember you had texted me this hand a while back, and I remember you, though, saying that the key to this hand is this guy is sort of spazzy, right?
So the key to this hand is that this guy is sort of spazzy, and, a way that I think about this sometimes is if a person has a bluff button and I can beat some of their value range, I'm much more likely to call.
Yeah.
So in this case, there is a chance, I think, that a spazzy guy like this either A, might sometimes be bluffing, or B, might be going buck wild with an underfall. I don't think he's doing it with the king high spade, but 4s and 5s, I think he he might do at some frequency.
Well, again,
Just,
like if you've seen this guy do some weird shit or ever turned hands into bluffs or anything like that, or just done spazzy shit, then I can't probably fold. But if I didn't have that history, I would seriously consider folding to like a nitty like 5-5 rig, because especially a guy that might be a little bit older that you don't think necessarily studies like poker theory, like he's just not going to 3-bet back on the river with. God, like anything probably worse than like ace five. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if he would do it with ace four, to be honest with you. They're so careful.
Right. Might be
you know what I mean?
Five. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. So did you call? Did you end up calling?
I did call, and as soon as I put in the chips and said call, he said good call and flipped over an ace and then mugged after I showed my hand.
He flipped over an ace.
Yeah, so he was turning trips into a bluff, trying to move me off of a flush or a full house.
Boy, that's really, really, really strange, because you wouldn't want to. So V1 has ace X for a bluff. I think that's a poor choice of a combination for him to have to try to turn his hand into a bluff, because what are you like? I mean, I guess maybe if you flopped the nut flush and decided to check it back and then call turn and then raise the river, but you're more likely.
But that's such a bizarre line to take with the nut flush.
Yeah, I mean, people do it.
To check, call, and then raise the river when the board pairs.
I mean, he obviously has like he has a hand that blocks you from having aces full, but he also has a hand that like if you were trying to make like a thin value raise, like say you had like, I don't know, ace jack or something like that. I'm not just saying that you would raise the river, but he has a hand that blocks some of your thin value that actually might raise fold. Did you see what I'm saying? So if he has a hand that blocks your raise fold button, and then you're kind of polarized, why would you 3-bet an ace all in? It would be better as a call, right?
Right. It doesn't make sense to 3-bet a polarized range with a hand that has that much showdown value.
Yeah, I think so. No, I think you hit the nail. I mean, I think, yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, he's repping aces full, right? Or he's bluffing.
Right.
But his hand is sort of, I feel like it's too good to do that with. And you're not necessarily polarized when you raise the river. Like, you might have some medium strength hands and things like that. So I mean, maybe non-flushes, maybe ace X. I mean, it could be a stretch. But that's a weird one. Boy, they like to play back at you, Jesse, huh?
They do. They see the bow tie and they think I'm a nit if they can push around.
Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.